Motocross, the tough, exciting sport, has caught the imagination of thousands all over Europe. In the World Championship Series, staged in a dozen different countries throughout the summer, every race brings its share of elation and disappointment. A win means more than personal satisfaction. In motocross, there is factory and national pride at stake. In the late summer of 1969, we look at 3 rounds of the 500cc World Championships. The Luxembourg, French, and Swiss Grand Prix. 3 meetings and 3 men. BSA riders John Banks from Bury St Edmunds, Dave Nichol from Cambridge, Keith Hickman from Oxford. Our 3 in Europe. Ettelbruck in Luxembourg. It's August. 7 of the 12 rounds of the championship have run their course, and BSA team leader John Banks, runner-up the previous year, now tops the scoring list. Then come 2 Swedes, Bengt Aberg and Arne Kring. The paddock is a hive of activity as bikes are made ready. Vic Eastwood sharpens a tire tread for more grip. There's former world champion Bill Nielsen. John Banks has a word with Roger da Costa from Belgium. It hasn't rained in Luxembourg for 2 months. The Nichol brood revel in the sun. And young Master Banks, on his original horseless carriage, decides that he too can be a champion. Champion? How's that for a plug? Mary Banks finds the hot sun lightens domestic chores. A dolly lets the sunshine in. Practice time is drawing near, and now the crowds start to arrive. No, it's the local fire brigade doing their thing, damping down the dust. BSA team spirit is boosted by new, trendy red jerseys. That's John's mechanic, sidecar road racer Norman Hanks, putting some zip into things. Ready, and first arrivals for practice are already raising the dust. Much of the course is forest and out of bounds, so most spectators will gather in the center arena where the track twists and turns several times. An artificial jump has been added, and this gives a worm's eye view of the punishment which motocross inflicts on frames, suspensions and tires. Banks, Hickman, Nichol, Banks again, Kring, the Swedish Husqvarna ace, and practice gives the experts an opportunity of studying form. At these continental meetings, there's always something going on, or coming off. For sale? Looks like one competitor has had enough already. Bikes are checked over by the mechanics. A quick inspection of the spark plug helps in diagnosing engine conditions. And while that's going on, the BSA teamsters in the sorted shorts way up the course on foot. After a couple of races for local riders, the meeting snaps into top gear with the first leg of the Luxembourg Grand Prix. Billowing dust will reduce visibility, so a good start is essential. Everyone tries to lead into the first bend. But it's Dave Nicol who pulls away from Kring, Da Costa, Aberg, Banks. Over the hill and down the other side, it's still Nicol from Kring. And through the orchard into the forest, Dave increases his lead. Behind the pair, it's very much a case of follow me leader, as the dust makes it almost impossible to pass. That's Homola in front of Banks. Back in the arena, Nicol has a very handsome lead. Teammate Banks ahead of rival Aberg. And in the open spaces, riders have a chance to see just how close the opposition may be. Third member of the BSA trio, Keith Hickman, is in 6th place. Not surprisingly, the leaderboard doesn't vary much. At the orchard once more, it's Nicol in front. Oh dear, all this dust, to say nothing of fumes. But how's this for British ingenuity? BSA's portable anti-pollution device. And in second spot, Arnie Kring. Third is Jawa rider Jaroslav Homola, chased by fourth man John Banks. Behind them is Bengt Aberg on the Husqvarna. Not long to go now as Nicol circles the arena. Banks gets his ample weight over the rear tire. Nicol. Kring. Banks. Over the bridge and up the hill go the two BSA Husqvarna duels. Nicol and Kring. Banks and Aberg. With the heat and the dust, some sort of headgear is necessary. Any sort. Do it yourself. A la Napoleon, or the latest from Paris. Nicol presses on through the last lap. His 6'4" making the 500 BSA look like a little toy, unaware that in the dust behind, Kring's retirement brings Homola up to second and John Banks to third. A short rest, then it's time for the second leg. They're off. And this time, Aberg grabs the lead. But again, Nicol has made an inspired start. And halfway round the first lap, he lies second. The arena, next time round. The crowd waits to see who'll be first, and it's Nicol. Somewhere in the dust, he's passed Aberg. Nicol pushes on in front. But an exasperated Banks tours home slowly. A flat tire puts him out. Things are really hotting up now. Nicol loses the lead to Aberg, and the battle for places grows fiercer. But Dave Nicol knows that if he finishes in the first three, he's sure of overall victory. He takes no chances as he completes the course one more time. Through the fields, up the hill, into the woods. If you're wondering why Nicol is so brilliant today, let's point out that he's 6 foot 4 inches tall, and thus a mobile periscope able to see right over those dust clouds. And so back to the arena for his first ever Grand Prix victory. A quick wash, and it's a very happy Dave Nicol who salutes the crowd. Next day, the trio are off again. The next round is at Le Guipi in southern France, way down near the Pyrenees. Just a short jaunt of 700 miles. That's nothing. But just how far does a motocross rider travel during the season? Let's ask John Banks.
During a season, World Championship-wise, about 40,000 miles. But I suppose in all, probably 60,000 miles if you put the smaller races that we go to as well on the continent, one each weekend after the other, and you might have a week in between to go back to England and repair the box. We share the driving if there's two of us go, but I do as little as possible. I find the travelling hard work, boring, and sometimes the food is not so good, and sometimes the sleep is even worse when we're in a hurry.
La Guipi, southern France. And the organizers of the French Grand Prix have made it La Grande Carnival. With birds, bands, bon ami, it's a real big Basque bonjour. Everyone comes to watch Le Motocross down here in the Basque country. He must be an ex-legionnaire. It's a grand day out for the whole family. Meanwhile, back at the bushes, something stirs. Françoise, Michel, Brigitte, and Fred. Lucky Fred. In the ceremonial parade, each country's squad is led by a mounted standard bearer. Britain's rider puts the horse in bottom gear and finds the acceleration a bit fierce. Now there are additional hazards on the track. Riders are introduced to the crowd. Our bashful heroes endure the local customs. But vive le sport! Vive le vin! .250cc world champion Joël Robert helps John Banks with his bid. The formalities over, it's down to the main business of the day, the race. In the lead is West Germany's Adolf Wiel on his Maiko. From Banks, Hickman, Aberg, Thoman, Johnson, and Nicol.
Pardon, monsieur, but what is the order again?
As I was saying, Wiel, Banks, Hickman, Aberg, Thoman, Johnson, and Nicol. No change in the order at the top of this crisscross course. Banks drops the BSA, but with great skill keeps his hands on clutch and throttle. He remounts without losing second place, while teammate Hickman chops Aberg. Quite by accident, of course. Now Banks is closing on Viu, and Aberg is pressing Hickman very hard. Roger da Costa, going well after a poor start. 29, Jiris Schultz, stalls it at the bottom of a drop. Round the back of the course, Viu loses a chain. Banks leads, and for a while it's 1-2 for BSA. But Aberg edges past Hickman, so now the main contenders for the title, Banks and Aberg, are once more locked in battle. This is the very essence of motocross, controlling a violent, bucking, bouncing bike at speed. Perfect balance and control, man and machine together. Aberg and Banks are the world's best, and the 30,000 crowd is right in on the action, close enough to breathe the atmosphere. Lap after lap they're together, neither willing to give an inch of ground. Hickman slips back to 6th place, and Nickel, with the bike not on full power, is in midfield. Unlike Luxembourg, the French course is packed into a small area and swoops from side to side of a steep valley. Oops! Paul Friedrichs, reigning world champion. Viu and da Costa. Chris Hammergren. From Bulgaria, Georgi Saravimov. Someone Avimov? Electrical trouble puts out Banks and leaves the way clear for Aberg. With 2 consistent rides, Keith Hickman finishes a fine 4th. Backed up by teammate Dave Nickel. But at the line, Bengt Aberg is the winner. Peace descends on the paddock as the riders prepare for the next round. But motocross is not just an entertainment. It's a tough testing ground for the machines and their components. After 2 or 3 meetings, the bikes come back to the BSA works in Birmingham for a checkup. Here, engine specialist John Thicken checks that the internals are as they should be. In another part of the competition shop, double world champion Jeff Smith, competitions manager Brian Martin, and Paul Butler of Dunlops are joined by John Banks. They talk over the all-important matter of tyres. A motocross tyre isn't just a piece of rubber with knobs stuck on anyhow. Each knob has its own job to do. Development of the machine and its tyres progress hand in hand, and there's close cooperation between BSA and Dunlop. Banks's model has the latest Dunlop motocross tyre, the K88. This is a much lighter tyre than before, matching BSA's own progress in lightening the machine. 2-ply nylon for extra strength and wider gaps between the bands of studs. It doesn't supersede the heavier sports tyre, which can give better results in rocky conditions. But what BSA and Dunlop are after is a tyre with maximum grip in grassy or muddy going. And you can't get it any muddier than at Bohlen in Switzerland. Here near Zurich, it hasn't stopped raining for 3 days. John Banks, smiling through. And Keith Hickman seems to have sat in something. Melanie Banks cleans Daddy's bike. Keith wipes his number plate, only to discover that he's cleaning the wrong machine. In practice, things have gone badly for BSA. John has fractured a bone in his hand, a footrest went through Dave Nickel's boot, and he's broken a bone as well. Both decide to carry on. But it's a far from happy trio who head for the start line. Down goes the gate, and the pack churn through the morass. From Sweden, Aberg and Kring take the lead. And with the rest in wheel-spinning pursuit, it's becoming hard to recognize anyone. A Swiss rider decides to sit this one out. Round the next bend, there's chaos on a hill of Swiss chocolate. It's no problem for 32, who weaves his way through. The order is Kring, Aberg, Biel, Da Costa, Friedrichs and Banks. Well, there's mud in your eye, but he can still see enough to overtake. But on the fourth lap, Kring's chain breaks. That lets Aberg through into the lead. Dave Nicol plows on through the mud, making good use of his long legs to keep his balance. Somehow, Aberg has got past the riders struggling on the hill, and he builds up a long lead. Banks has moved up to fourth and is going well. There are deep ruts on the circuit, and for once, to stay in a rut could be the best ploy. A sea of mud is a great test of physical strength, stamina and balance, calling for English trials riding techniques. Delicate use of power is essential. Too much throttle can put you flat on your back. Keith Hickman demonstrates the art. And the enthusiastic crowd are impervious to the rain. They are staying to the end. Look, Dad, it's raining mud. Here comes Aberg, slewing the back wheel and giving the crowd a mud shower. But he's missed a few. He'll get them next time round. There, what did I tell you? Number 56, identified from the rear, tries taking it nice and easy, but he still ends up in the mire. Mud-plastered riding numbers make lap scoring difficult, but that signal's clear enough. It tells Aberg that he's got a clear lead and the race is nearly over. There's Da Costa in second place. Hickman picks up a place. He's now ninth after being left on the line and last away. Lucky Dave Nicol, with a broken foot, is eighth as he passes through a sea of umbrellas. At last the end comes, and first is Bengt Aberg. But there's only one real winner today, the weather. But that's motocross. Celebrations for some, heartaches for others. As for the crowd, they'll be back next year, come rain or shine. And so will BSA, for motocross plays a key role in the development program. Better machines, better tires, better spark plugs. Win or lose in a race, you gain in the end.